answering your tough financial questions for the past 26 years. It's Allworth's Money Matters with co-hosts Scott Hanson and Pat McClain. Would you like an opinion on a financial matter you're dealing with? Whether it's about retirement, investments, taxes, or 401ks, Scott Hanson and Pat McClain would like to help you by answering your call. To join Allworth's Money Matters, call now at 833-99-WORTH. That's 833-99-WORTH.
Welcome to Allworth's Money Matters. I'm Scott Hanson.
I'm Pat McClain. Thanks for joining us this day, this weekend, this podcast time, whatever time you're listening.
Both myself and my co-host here, we're both financial advisors, certified financial planner, chartered financial consultant. We spend our weekdays helping people like yourself come here, broadcast on the weekends to be your financial advisors on the air. And we've been doing this program for 25 years.
Yep.
And
that's right. Lovely, lovely time. 25 years.
It has been good times.
Mostly.
Okay, that's fair. You know, it's interesting. So we record the program midweek. We have a studio in our office. Our calls are, I guess, like if you watch a talk show on television.
Yes.
Everyone knows they're all pre-recorded.
Yes.
Judge Judy or whatever you're watching,
Ellen.
right? Okay.
They're recorded.
Some are recorded that day. Some they record several at once.
Ours are typically recorded within a
We'll typically
timely
record
period.
one or two programs at a time, just being full disclosure here. Midweek, we broadcast on the weekends.
And people call into the show, so you'll hear us give out the number, and you'll say, why are they giving out the number? Well, people will call in and ask a question, and you will then be signed up to talk to us live in a
we'll
few
schedule
days.
a time when it's convenient for everybody to make it happen. So if you'd like to join us, 833-99-WORTH is the number, 833-99-WORTH. If you forget it, you can always go to our website and find it there. But to your point, it's mostly been we were live for most of those 25 years, and
every weekend.
We had times when we would have a little, anyway, it's irrelevant. You don't care about that. You care about the financial
But yourself.
Yeah, you care about yourself. And you know what's bizarre right now is, I don't know why that's not specific. Home prices are up quite a bit. So nationally, home prices for the month of July, it's a little later because it takes a while to get this data for whatever reason, we're up 5.5% higher than they were the previous year. And they were up almost 4.5% in the month of June. So home prices keep going up higher.
Partially driven by lower interest rates. And this hasn't happened on a national level. In fact, if you follow this at all, you'll see that home prices in major metropolitan areas, highly densely populated cities, are actually falling.
Just a bit, though.
They're falling, though. They are falling.
And you wonder what's going to happen in places like the big cities, in inner city.
New York, San Francisco,
Chicago,
Atlanta, Seattle, Portland.
But we're really seeing it in vacation type spots.
That's where home prices have been driven up significantly.
And areas like Park City and Lake Tahoe and some of these areas.
The Hamptons, Montauk.
Yeah, these vacation spots we're seeing, because people are like, wait a minute, I could work remotely? Like, where do I like to hang out? Where do I like to vacation? Maybe I could just live where I like to vacation. And we're seeing it. It's a lot of these second home buyers that can afford it.
They're driving prices.
And one of the unfortunate things about this situation, this season of coronavirus, which everyone calls it COVID now. It used to be called, I understand the differences, but it's referred to much more now as COVID than corona, is we already had a pretty big gap between the haves and the have-nots.
And this is awful. If you were struggling before, this is awful. Just awful.
I remember, Pat, this is probably 20 years ago, and I was talking to some clients, and we were talking about risk things. And I'm like, well, I can't guarantee you the federal U.S. government's going to be in existence for the rest of your life. So we can only get so far in certainty. And they say, well, what's the thing that it makes you the most concerned? It's like 20 years ago. This was 20 years ago. And I said, it's the shrinking of the middle class and the growing disparity between the haves and the have-nots, and what that can do to a society over a long period of time. The destabilization of the society. Yes. Which I think which is the biggest.
And you're by no means liberal. Politically speaking.
Well, not financially. Fiscally, no.
Okay.
Yeah, I am a capitalist.
Yeah.
And because I don't see if someone could show me something else that worked better, then I'd be buying into that.
Would you lean more to the libertarian side?
If any of them got elected, yes.
Okay.
If they actually had any power, probably.
Myself as well.
Right.
So
I mean, and look, I mean, and so we don't. I don't mean to make a political statement on it. I'm just stating
this is real. The wealth gap disparity that was exacerbated by the last recession.
That's right.
Has gotten even larger this time. And the dependence upon government subsidies is going to create quite a quagmire to get out of.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that they shouldn't be doing government subsidies because you can't let people starve.
Of course.
Anyway. We should go to this.
But it's strange.
I'm getting depressed, Scott. Can we go to the calls?
Prices in Lake Tahoe, as an example, vacation. I just read this in the Wall Street Journal a week or so ago, up 18% year over year. So there's people that have the money. These are primarily, I would imagine, people in the Bay Area that work for the tech companies.
Or people that middle class Bay Area. San Francisco can sell their $1.3 million house. I know a retired police officer from San Jose, and his wife is a flight attendant at Southwest Airlines, and they just bought a $1.4 million home. My guess is what they paid for it. Which, if you look at what their income
in the Lake Tahoe region,
this was in Northern California, in the Sacramento area. But if you look at their income and the price of the house that they bought, there seems to be a disparity. So either they inherited money or they made a boatload of money.
They made a boatload on their house
that they sold in San Jose.
San Jose, it's amazing the home prices there. Anyway, it's a strange time.
It's an interesting.
Yeah. But
let's go to the calls. 1-833-99-WORTH. That's 1-833-999-6784. And we're going to talk with Cliff in Northern California. Cliff.
Hi, Pat. How you doing?
Good. You, Cliff?
Good. Hey, I had a question. Well, I have a feeling that we're going into an inflationary period with the government writing checks all the time without the money to back it up. And that being said, is this a good time to get out of your IRA and roll into Roth IRAs? Pay the tax now.
Yeah, I understand. I don't know if the idea of the inflation, first of all, you're asking two different questions. One driven on monetary policy, which is inflation, which is kind of exactly the opposite of what the Federal Reserve did last week in order to actually keep interest rates low for an extended period of time to create a little bit of inflation. I listened to this great podcast.
We just saw our debt exceed our GDP
for the first time ever.
That's right.
Right.
And there's a week and a half ago, there's a very small club of countries that have done that. Japan, Italy, Greece. I think that's the short list, and the United States, where our debt has exceeded what we produce, the entire country produces on an annual basis.
That's right. So the answer to
it's a big number. It's a big relative to our.
So while inflation may actually be out there, I don't think there's any actually short-term worry about inflation. And when I say short-term, in the next 2 to 3 years, I don't think inflation, mostly because of the competitive global environment for goods and services and the amount of available labor that is actually not in the workforce right now, both in the U.S. and globally. If we were high unemployment and we were having these kind of issues, I'd worry about inflation.
But I think over the long term, if you ask me, one of my bigger concerns right now over the next decade, 2 decades, it would be inflation. Not for 2020, not for 2021, but I don't know how else the government's going to take care of this debt.
But not in the short term.
No, I'm not the short term.
Right? Not in the next, as I said, 2, 3, 4
That's right,
years.
not this year, next
correct.
year. I mean,
Correct. So, let's talk about actually taking the money from your IRA and putting it in a Roth IRA. You can hold the same investments in either.
that I'd be more concerned about what tax inflationary on the taxes, right?
Yeah. So what's your tax rate? What's your annual income right now for the family, Cliff?
My gross taxable right now is $70,000 a year.
And are you single or married?
Married,
And how old are you?
68.
Are you working?
I'm retired.
You are. And how much money do you have in IRAs?
900,000.
Yeah,
And-
I definitely would be converting some.
Yeah.
You
And how
live
much money
in,
do you have
California?
in how much money do you have in Roth IRAs?
None.
Okay.
And you think you're in Northern California? Are you going to stay here long term?
This is where the grandchildren are. so
Okay.
that would
Okay,
be-
yeah.
All right.
I get it, yeah.
You guys have a common enemy.
Yeah.
I would absolutely start converting,
Yeah.
especially prior to age 72 when your required minimum
Yeah.
distribution kicks in.
Because that's going to be 30 grand a year. You're going to have to take that out.
So what
In
you
4
want to do
years.
is actually either work with your accountant, do it yourself, or find a financial advisor to determine how much money you should be converting on an annual basis.
Because the tax
Right,
rates are
well-
they're stepped, right? And they're progressive. So right now you're in a 22% federal tax bracket. And when you hit a
Right.
certain point, you're going to hit this point somewhere down the road with your required minimum distributions, it jumps from 12% to 22%. So it's a 10% incremental bump. So if you talk about a $1,000 withdrawal today or $1,000 converted to Roth IRA, you've got $120 goes to the federal government. If you wait and it's when you're in a higher tax bracket, now you've got $220. So I look at that like a 10% arbitrage, right?
And-
now, if you can.
How much money do you have outside of IRAs?
I have a defined benefit pension
Okay.
and Social Security and about $100,000 in cash.
Okay, so that's
Yeah,
what
you're like a poster child for Roth conversion.
yeah, perfect. Because you'd use that $100,000 in cash to pay the tax
Well,
liability.
it wouldn't take that much, but
But it would take some.
My guess is you probably want to convert $30,000 or $40,000 each year between now and the time you have your required minimum distribution.
But if he converts $30,000, he's going to get a $10,000 or $12,000, $13,000
Yeah,
tax
you'd use
bill.
some of it.
You're going to use some of, not all $100,000. But this is textbook.
You're perfect
Yeah,
case for it.
Textbook. And forget about the inflation because that's not going to affect whether you convert or not convert. It's just going to affect the overall economy. It's the taxes that are actually and do you believe the state of California tax rates may be higher in the future?
I believe both the federal and the state will be higher in the future.
There you go.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons.
And if I were a betting man, which I'm not a betting man, but I look at statistical probabilities, there is a chance that some with large retirement plan balances, large Roth retirement plan balances, have to pay some sort of tax or penalty on their accumulation of Roth IRAs when they take a disbursement.
Really? I mean,
But I don't think you're one of those to worry about.
yes.
Because you're solid middle class. here.
Yes. I mean, if you were over $5 million,
That's right. Or
they've
whatever
done
the
it,
number
they've done it in the past.
Yeah, I don't see that being a worry.
So you absolutely want to start that. You want to put a plan to do it the maximum amount to the highest level in the marginal tax rate between now and your age 72.
And look at both federal taxes and state. It's just running
Right.
like you're running your tax, just like you're doing your taxes. Just do it early. And we don't know what next year's tax rates are going to be. We do know this year's. So now's a perfect time to
Right.
start running the numbers. You got until December 31st.
And if I'm willing to go an extra 2%, I can go a lot higher on the amount that I can convert.
That's right.
Going from 22% to 24%.
No, but you're gonna want to.
Yeah, you want to run a pro forma of your
Yeah.
tax to determine where that level is.
Because
That you're
you're gonna want to do it just up to the 22% level, because if you're on, let's say you were 72 right now and you had required minimum distributions, your required minimum distributions are going to be about $33,000 a year, which is still in the 12% tax bracket. So I would hate to see you pay at 22% bracket today when we can have reasonable assurance that you're going to be somewhere in the ball. Maybe it won't be 12%, maybe it'll be 15% back in a few years from now, but I don't. Who knows what tax rates are going to do?
But you basically,
Right.
do you do
It's a
your-
good bet right
do you-
now.
Cliff, do you do your own tax return?
Yes, I do.
Okay, well then just go in there and model some pro formas, and it will tell you how much you should convert every year based on the marginal rate. Pretty easy.
Right.
All righty.
Okay.
All right. Thanks
I like
for the
way
call.
you're thinking, Cliff.
Appreciate
Makes sense
appreciate
to me.
the call.
Yeah, absolutely makes sense to do some looking at the Roth right now. Let's continue on with calls and talk with Charles. Charles, you're with Allworth's Money Matters.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Hi, Charles.
All right. So my question is, I'm 60 years old, retired. My wife is still working. I have a mortgage for $150,000 on a house that's market value is probably $400,000. And I'm pondering whether or not I should dip into my 401k, which I haven't touched, and pay off the house. Trying to keep myself in the 22% tax bracket and pay it off over the next couple of years, or go ahead and take a larger sum now, pay the 24% tax bracket, and then pay it off in January with another minor draw.
What's the interest rate on the? I'm sorry. What's the interest rate on your mortgage?
3.75%.
How much?
Scott's
What
going to
do
ask
you have
the
in
same
your
question.
401k?
$815,000.
And how much is your pension?
52,000 a year gross.
How old's your wife?
57.
And does she have any money saved for retirement?
30-some thousand dollars in a IRA that she no longer contributes to.
And how much does she earn working?
She 55,000. Together we gross about 107,000.
Do you have any money in cash or anything outside these IRAs or 401ks?
I've got about $30,000 in cash.
And how much longer is your wife going to keep working?
She reaches full retirement at age 62.
Will she get a pension?
So she will from the state. Yeah.
How much
works
would
for
she
the state
get?
of Maryland. It's about $2,300 a month.
Oh.
gross.
All right.
And do you get? Will you receive Social Security? Either one of you?
Yeah, we both will.
Listen, I got to tell you, first of all, I'm impressed by you alone, just like being able to rattle
Yeah,
that
that's
stuff
right.
off. Like, and I'm impressed by the fact that you actually started talking about marginal tax rates. As we were explaining in the previous caller how they worked, you were explaining to us actually what each one of those consequences were for marginal tax rate.
Here's the challenge. The money in your 401k is yet to be taxed, right? So you take
Correct.
it out and you got to pay taxes. And if you took 150 out today, it not only is the marginal tax rate, but then you start losing part of your itemized deductions. There's other phase outs that start hitting you, and I don't think you've got some of these other tax credits that other people might have because of your age. But
What's the $30,000 in the bank for? What are you using that for?
I have it sitting there as two items. About half of it is emergency savings, and the other half of it is part of my federal retirement under the new retirement system. I get what's called a FERS supplement. It's 70% of my Social Security annuity at age 62. But I got that from when I retired a year ago till midnight on my 62nd birthday. So I take half of that I get every month, and I put it in the bank, figuring that because I didn't want to draw Social Security till I was 65 or 67.
I like the way you're
Just kind of
thinking.
half them.
Yeah.
Half that.
I
money.
don't know. Listen, I don't know whether I'd pay this mortgage off now or not.
I would not. Here's what.
I'd have to play with some numbers, but at first blush, tell me what you
I
think.
think the taxes are just going to eat you too badly to do it. But what you could do, and if it's really important, is carve off a couple $100,000 of this into a separate IRA, invest it in mainly conservative type investments, and have it send a check each month to whatever the balance is that's going to your mortgage payment right now. If your idea is you want to free up the cash flow, that's one way to free up the cash flow.
That would be psychological.
100%.
So basically, you're matching maturities. You're taking an asset here. So to pay off this $150,000, you'd have to have $250,000 in the IRA because there's a tax reduction as it goes across.
Or you pay this out over the next 5 years.
Or 10 years. So why don't you look at refinancing this into a 10-year fixed rate mortgage to see
Or
if you
just
can
the
drive the
30
interest?
years. And
Well, because the interest rates would be lower on a 10-year, would they not? By a quarter
or
percent.
forget
or
about
half.
paying it. I mean,
It doesn't.
every situation is different, right? And if you heard the show enough, it's like we're big fans of having the home paid off. But I mean, your situation, you've both got these great pensions, which is a total game changer at retirement.
And you both are eligible for Social Security.
So you're going to have all this guaranteed income coming in, and your mortgage payment, if you actually look, you might be paying your taxes and insurance and compound, so it feels bigger than it is. Your mortgage payment's pretty dang small, so it's really kind of negligible.
Yeah, my house payment's $1,270 a month with taxes and insurance included.
Yeah, so if you back that out, it's what is $700 a month or something going towards to the mortgage.
Right.
Yeah, so it's negligible relative to your overall situation.
Yeah, I can't see because of the tax implications
Yeah,
a reason that
I would not recommend
that I would even. I might pay it off over 10 years just for psychological reasons, but I don't think it's going to matter one way or the other.
Or take $1,000 a month from your 401k now and increase your payment to the.
Yeah, that won't
To the
drive them
mortgage.
into a higher marginal rate. to
be
speak of.
negligible.
Yeah. Yep. So, but the idea of taking a lump sum out and doing it over a year or 2 years, bad idea.
It's too.
Okay.
It's the taxes are too graduated. I don't know what the tax structure is in Maryland, but I'm guessing it's not the lowest in the country.
It's not pleasant.
All right. Well, listen, you
But
complain all you,
Baltimore is such a lovely city and safe and all that, so you got that going for you.
but
Yeah.
It actually, the downtown Baltimore is
Baltimore is down by the water.
The waterfront's quite beautiful.
Yeah, and they eat this
Yeah.
one crabs where
Gorgeous.
you eat like one of their legs or something. Is that-
Maryland's got some beautiful spots.
I think in Baltimore, the guy brought me to a place where they only take one of the crab legs and throw them back in the water. Is that? Am I thinking of the right place?
I don't know. Blue crabs
Blue
here,
crabs.
hard crabs here. They eat the whole thing.
Oh,
Got it.
and you guys are known for your oysters, are you not? Isn't that what Maryland's known for?
Yeah, we got oysters, blue crabs.
Anyway,
All right.
Yep.
Appreciate the call.
but Scott,
All right, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you, Charles.
but mostly of the Eastern Seaboard was known for their oysters. In fact, I
Don't tell me you read a book on the
I
history
did.
of oysters.
I did. I read the book of the history of oysters in America.
That's literally the book you read.
Yes. It was called Oyster. It was the same guy that wrote the book Cod about the history of cod in America. So
Pat reads some of the most obscure books. The history of oysters in America. That was the book.
well, it's called Oyster. Yeah, it's
Oyster.
the history of oysters in America. And
There's
oysters.
a page turn. You can. It's like, Pat, can you turn off the light, honey? I can't put this book down. It's fascinating.
But Scott, look,
You can put Tabasco on it.
No.
You can eat them.
no, but think about it. Agriculture was the economic foundation of America, and cod and oysters played a massive role in tobacco, cotton, in the forming of the United States. I mean, at one point in time,
Because that was a major food source.
it was
and a protein
That was
source.
before manufacturing. Oysters didn't pack as well or store as well as cod did, but the locals ate. I mean, you could go the original bars. You could go there and they'd sell an oyster for a penny or two each because they were so plentiful. The streets were filled with oyster shells. Just throw them out the back door. Anyway, let's go on to the radio show. Okay. But if you like that sort of thing, I would recommend any book by Michael Pollan, the Defense of Food, The Omnivore's Dilemma, The Botany of Desire, the book Cod, Salt, or Oyster. All excellent books.
I think one of the things I enjoy about being human is the fact that we're all wired a little differently, and I think I appreciate our differences much more the older I get.
I like diversity as long as they're like me.
Yeah, we're going to take a quick break. Stick around for more. We'll take a couple more calls too when we come back. And you are listening to Allworth's Money Matters with Scott Hanson and Pat McClain of Allworth Financial.
Can't get enough of Allworth's Money Matters? Visit allworthfinancial.com/radio to listen to the Money Matters podcast.
Welcome back to Allworth's Money Matters. Scott Hanson.
Pat McClain.
And by the way, it's been a weird season when most of us have, I don't think we're quite sheltering in place like we once were, most of us, but there's still a bit of, most people aren't out and about like they were, including our clients,
Yes.
our advisors. It's just,
It's been a different world.
yeah, we've gotten really good.
We think we have.
Well, our clients tell us we've gotten good
Okay.
at virtual meetings, video meetings, with
Zoom
clients.
meetings. I've been doing it with my clients. I enjoy them. The clients seem to enjoy them just because it's much more casual than it is in the office. It's much more relaxed.
It kind of is, huh?
Yeah. They're there, right?
And even if we had a cure tomorrow, a vaccine tomorrow, this new wave of having virtual meetings is not going away.
It is part.
It's not going to replace in-person meetings entirely.
But it will certainly enhance
Yeah.
relationships between service companies like our own and our clients.
I had a virtual call with my CPA a couple weeks ago, and I'd only had phone calls with him before.
You had never seen them in person.
It'd been years. It'd been years. But it's the reason I'm bringing this up. If we've got a great team of advisors, every once in a while we do a little pitch, and we're doing a little pitch right now. Mainly because I think we do a great job. We got a great team of advisors, 80 or so advisors, certified financial planners, and we've got a great team of CPAs on staff, et cetera. So if you're not totally happy with your current relationship, maybe you're close to retirement, wondering if you're in the right place for retirement, maybe you're wondering if you got the right kind of investment portfolio right now, just have a free consultation with one of our advisors. It's painless, it's easy, and we're happy to set one up. So go to allworthfinancial.com, and you can do a little thing of connect. There's obviously
We send you
somewhere on our website we'll tell you how to meet
It's
with
easy.
one of our, and I think you might enjoy it. Anyway, let's take some calls, and let's go to Kathy. Kathy, you're with Allworth's Money Matters.
Hi.
Hi, Kathy.
I was just wondering, with the market, how are you guys today? I was just wondering, with the investment market, stocks and other investment vehicles right now, the way they are, might it be a good time to get back into investing in rental properties?
Rentals. So, isn't this an interesting? I had this discussion with my 24-year-old son about buying
Here's the thing. I mean,
about him buying a house, which he would then rent rooms out to roommates.
so let me premise this by saying we have no idea what future prices are going to be. Right? We're not clairvoyant. But when we're in an environment when rents decline, and you're in California. In California, they said you cannot evict any tenants. And there's there was a legislator who was trying to push forward some legislation where you could have a renter pay what's back due over the last 10 years, but the state's going to make the landlord whole. Or
Tax credit with the use of tax credits.
I can't imagine that. But one would assume that there'd be a high probability of some prices coming down, particularly on the rental stock of homes, the kind of homes that tend to be rented out. But
at the same time, then
that may or may not happen because mortgage, but they could go up because mortgage rates are so low. And where else are you going to put the money?
That's right. So what do you how would you pay for this rental property?
We have quite a few rental properties, and let's just say we're not highly leveraged.
Okay. So you own a number of them. So you're not new to the space. When was the last rental property you purchased? What year?
Probably when the market started going up in 2012, the end of 2012.
All right.
So what's your question for us?
How do we feel? Is that what your question is?
Yeah, just generally.
I would be patient.
I've been thinking that because of these things going on in California, it might be a good time to buy because other people might be afraid of it, and people have to live somewhere.
We haven't seen that reflected in the prices yet, though.
So, as Pat said, be patient.
Be patient. We haven't seen it reflected in the prices of the real estate yet. So,
and they may or may not.
I guess I'm more concerned with the fact that it seems like rents are going up in preparation for what the state might do.
Oh, in terms of
I'm sure,
rent control?
As far as the rental income, even if I bought a house at fair market value today, my biggest concern is rents and what they're going to do. Are they going to make you
rent control?
Eviction's hard, and we've had a number of properties for a number of years, and we have a very good property manager. We've had like one eviction, so I know.
But I just wanted. But right now, I'm just so if you play out a few months from now, do you have no concern that some of your tenants aren't going to be able to pay rent, or no concern that you'll have a vacancy that'll be tough to fill?
I don't have those concerns because of the shortage of houses. And rentals. And I think it will get worse as far as.
Do you own any properties outside of California?
Not anymore.
Well, that's if I was going to. But by the way, so let's give a view of the landscape that's different between now and 2012. Even if prices, let's say, decline, real estate prices decline, let's say 15, 20, 30%, and it is an attractive market to buy again. The last time around, there were not consolidators in the industry that owned thousands of homes backed with Wall Street money.
Like there is today.
Okay.
So these guys went around and rolled up hundreds of properties. So there were people, I have friends, that would put together these investment pools of 10, 15, $20 million, and they would go out and purchase 20, 30, 40 homes. They'd buy them at the courthouse steps. They'd refurb them a little. They'd put a tenant into them. And once they got a big enough block, them not knowing what they were going to do with them, we were approached by Wall Street that said, hey, if they could do it at 30 million, we could do it at 300 million, or we could do it at $3 billion. So we saw private equity and large institutions, including pension funds, move into this space to purchase those houses, which brought stability to the rental markets. Right? And they used leverage. They had less expensive cost of borrowing at an institutional leverage level than you do as an individual. It's different this time around. It is absolutely different this time around. So in saying that, we don't know whether that's stabilizing for the markets.
Another thing that's very different is the ability for the renters to pay their rent.
That's right. That's right. Because of the government subsidies that stepped into it in terms of
short term, but the government can't.
Forever.
Look, we can't shut the economy down and keep printing dollars and pretend like this we can survive.
So if you're asking me my personal opinion, I would not be.
Yes, that's what I'm asking.
I'm not in any hurry to buy any real estate at this point in time, right? And
I'm not in a hurry to buy anything at this point in time.
And I'm not a market timer. I don't think you should be in a hurry to. I agree with Scott. There isn't anything that clearly says, especially in real estate, especially in the state of California, with the fact maybe they say you can't evict anyone for 9 months or 12 months.
Or 2 years.
Well, what happens then? People stop paying. Even though they can pay, they're going to stop paying because they know at the end of this, they're just going to move out. Right? When I was in high school, I worked at a restaurant, And there was a gentleman that worked in the kitchen, and his name was Fried Fred. And Fried Fred told me,
Fried Fred.
that's what we called him, is Fried Fred. He was fried. But Fried Fred, I'm a senior in high school. Fried Fred tells me how he and his buddies do it. They go in, one of them dresses nice, gets his hair cut, meets with the landlord, rents the place. He said we would put first and last month's down, and that was it. Never again, not another penny.
Nice, Fried Fred.
And he said,
Fraud Fred.
Fried Fred.
Fraud Fred.
Fried Fred say it took him about 6 months before they finally get evicted. And then the other guy whose record was pretty clean, who had a pretty good credit record, they would just do it
a number of
again.
years.
Do it year over year over year. So Fried Fred figured it out without even the blessing of the U.S. or the state government at the time.
There's going to be so many with damaged credit during this cycle.
But the answer to your question is I would not be in a hurry to go into any real estate market at this point in time. And if I were going to go into the market, I would probably look for a state different than
California.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, hey,
and I
Kathy,
love the great state of California. I've lived here most of my life. But in terms of an economic, there are more economically advantageous places to own real estate than in California.
Appreciate the call, Kathy. You know, it's interesting, Pat.
I wonder whatever happened to Fried Fred, Scott.
Gee, I don't know. I'm sure life turned out. So my oldest daughter, 24, she's about to graduate from grad school in Denver. She wants to stay in Denver. Her and her roommate rented a 2-bedroom apartment in this apartment building. She'd love to stay there. Of course, her job prospects are not what they today aren't what they were. But so she's got a plan in place. And so I don't think she thought she'd be in this position, nor did I, but I'm going to kind of help her. She's transitioning into this business she's starting up. She's got a master's in sports psychology. And so I said, well, let me just, I co-signed on the rent for her originally. I said, let me talk to the landlord and work out a deal. She says, what do you mean? And I can't imagine there's a waiting list for apartments right now. I'll learn soon enough, right? But
we're talking to them.
Right. My thought is, look, who knows how? Let's get a 6 month. Let's get a 1-bedroom apartment for 6 months. Let's ask for 2 months free or something, or at least a month free. Or I said they're going to want to give you months free versus lowering the rent because it'll look cash flow better for their properties. But if I were in that situation,
did you call the?
We had this conversation 2 days
Oh,
ago.
got it. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Because
that's what I'm going to work out with somebody.
Yeah, because there are people that are not paying their rent, and the people that are paying their rents, they want to keep.
Right. I think I'm a pretty good credit risk.
Yes.
So, let's continue on in Loveland, Colorado, and we're talking with Karen. Karen, you're with Allworth's Money Matters.
Hi, Scott and Pat. I'm Karen from Loveland, Colorado.
All right.
And I am almost 59 and a half. My husband is 67. I work full-time. My income can fluctuate some, but I make between $175,000 and $200,000 a year. My husband's on a state pension of $75,000 a year. I have been maxing out my 401k, with pre-tax, not Roth, and I'm also maxing out my HSA. I have about $750,000 saved in 401k and IRA. And I'm wondering if I should start contributing to a Roth 401k. One of the questions I always have for my CPA every year is, how do I pay less taxes? So he always recommends that I stay in the pre-tax 401k, to lower our income. And also the other issue is my husband is collecting Medicare. And, his Medicare premiums are based on our combined income, so I try to minimize my income as much as I can. But I'm also thinking I may be retiring in the next 3 or 4 years and will then start accessing this money. So should I start putting some money in my Roth 401k, which I haven't put any money in yet?
So let me ask a couple questions. Do you owe anyone any money?
We have a mortgage of roughly 250,000, which, I may or may not pay off when I retire. It's not a bad payment.
What do you have in money saved outside of the 401k? Do you have any money in a Roth now or in a brokerage account or?
Yeah, we have brokerage accounts. Outside of IRA money, I probably have another 700,000.
Okay, and the reason we asked is that at retirement, ideally we get to retirement and we have a variety of different buckets to pull from. So if we need say our car dies and we do need a new car, we're not forced to pull money from our 401k or IRA, which is a taxable event. We have other options to look at. So it sounds like you're in good shape there. If you switched some or all of your pre-tax 401k deposits to a Roth, I suppose one can make the argument that you would have more set aside for retirement. But the challenge is your adjusted gross income is going to increase by that same amount.
It's going to go up.
Which will trigger more taxes today, and perhaps that's a smaller issue because it's not going to impact it that much.
It could affect it will most certainly affect the Medicare
Part B premiums.
Yeah. So the answer to the question,
we agree with your CPA.
We agree with, but let's look at the overall situation. So do you have money in the bank as well?
Yeah.
How much do you have in the bank?
Well, about 700,000 between brokerage accounts. As far as like CDs, things like that, probably about 250,000.
Okay, so if you were sitting in my office today, and we said, okay, Karen wants to retire in 3 years, what should we do? The first thing I would do is probably look to see what the returns were on that brokerage account and the money in the bank, and take anything that has a lower yield than what your cost of money is on the mortgage and liquidate it and pay off the mortgage. Because you said, I've got a low payment, it makes sense. But the reality is you're probably lending money at 2% and you're paying someone else 3.5% or 4% to borrow the same money back.
So either you take more risk,
or you actually sell off those close to risk-free assets and pay down your mortgage, because it's going to increase your overall net. Let's say that we move that number as 1%. That's an extra $2,500 a year to you. Let's say it's 1.5%, right? It's $3,700.
It's not a huge factor.
She's looking to save a couple $1,000s on taxes.
Okay, fair enough.
Right?
Fair enough.
Right?
The savings there would be much greater than whatever we're talking about the Medicare B premiums.
That's correct.
Yeah,
that's my point.
Yeah.
My point is, Karen, you focused on an issue that your accountant brought up, which is great. And we agree with your accountant. But if you were my sister, my older sister, by the way, slightly, I would sit down and say, Karen, let's look at the overall situation and take into account the tax ramifications, but let's see what you look like in retirement in 3 years. And retirement's probably in the future, possibly in 3 years.
It all depends on what your lifestyle is.
But this $175,000 to $200,000 a year is pretty hard to make up. That's a big number.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you've been saving some the last few years.
And she has been saving some,
yeah.
And the money's in the brokerage, but that's what I would look at.
And also look at what the survivor benefits on the pension, planning for those. So I think Pat's point is really it's probably worth your while to take a broader look at your overall, what's your retirement income look like, not just a couple years from now, and not just between now and 3 years when you might retire, but over the rest of yours until you're 95 or 100.
Yes.
And planning through those issues. And with the age difference, I mean, odds are, and obviously you've thought about this, odds are you'll probably be widowed one day, right? So your husband will probably predecease you by a number of years. What's that income look like during that time? And I think having a broader picture of this might be helpful for you. You're certainly doing the right things. You're saving
you're
well.
saving. You're saving. You're saving well.
You're in great shape.
We're just
question.
cleaning up around the edges.
Yeah.
All righty?
Right. I have one more quick question.
Sure.
When I retire, like my husband is getting a pension, so his Social Security he gets like $200 a month because they did that haircut.
Yes.
When I retire, is he able then to switch over to 50% of my Social Security?
No, because of the windfall elimination provision.
Oh, okay.
All righty.
Sorry about that.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Good luck, Karen. Sounds like you're doing a lot of the right things. So
Yeah.
appreciate you calling. And
Yeah, so Scott, I'll use an analogy in my own life. The top of my deck looked terrible in my backyard, but with a wood deck. So I brought a contractor over, and I'm like, "Hey, can you kind of sand this down or resurface so we put that fake wood in there?" And he's like, "Yeah, that'd be great." He said, "Except look under here."
oh, it's dry rot.
Well, it was worse than that. The pilings had been all the concrete, whatever they poured those things in and that thing. And so the reality is I was trying to do stuff on the surface, and it was much greater than that.
I'd say if I didn't worry about inflation, I would not own a home.
Okay, that's true.
I rented a house for about 6 months. Years ago, we built a new house, which I would not do again. Actually, I kind of enjoyed the process. I just don't like. But when I rented, anytime there's a problem, there was just one number to call,
And that was it?
and then you hang up. You don't think about anything again. It's not my problem. It's a beautiful thing. And when you own a home, and as the home ages, you get the dry rot.
Yeah.
By the way, your personal residence do not view as an investment. You consume it.
You consume your home.
And to maximize your net worth, if that's your objective anyway, live in the smallest dwelling as possible. And if you're going to have additional real estate for investment, have them as rentals. So somebody pays you rather than you pay it. Let's talk with David. David, you're with Allworth Money Matters.
Thank you, Scott and Pat. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Oh, good. Thank you.
I'm 67, recently retired, happily married, and I've put most of my retirement funds into Vanguard Index with about a 50-50 split between equities and bonds. And I've had several people approach me about putting some of my retirement funds into fixed annuities as a way of diversification. And I'd like to get your opinion on that.
Did they approach you at the bank?
No.
Well,
Why-
would you annuitize them immediately, or would you?
Yeah, what's the benefit to you?
Yes.
Why do these people tell you need an annuity?
Diversification.
Okay, so what's inside the annuity? What's inside a fixed annuity?
The same stuff
Well,
you
my
own.
understanding is-
It's the same stuff you own.
My limited understanding is like an insurance policy. It pays off a certain amount. My wife totally against it
Okay.
because of bad press and
Well,
things like that. So
so there's a difference. There's fixed annuities, and then there's fixed immediate annuities, and then there's indexed annuities, and then there's variable annuities.
There's a bunch of different types of annuities.
But we're going to talk about fixed annuities and immediate annuities right now. So if they're talking about a fixed annuity, all they're doing is talking about something that has a fixed interest rate for sometimes a period of time, sometimes not a period of time. And what they're doing is you take your $100,000, you give it to this insurance company. And that insurance company promises you a rate of return that is fixed in nature for a period of time. What does the insurance company do with that money? They don't keep it themselves. They actually go back and they invest in real estate,
Bonds,
primarily mortgages, primarily bonds.
Mostly fixed income.
Mostly fixed income, which is exactly what 50% of your portfolio is now. Why do people buy the fixed annuities? Well, sometimes they buy them because they might have a little bit of guarantees on them in terms of we promise that the interest rate will never go below this.
They
But-
might feel better than bonds because they don't fluctuate in value.
They don't fluctuate in value. So you're paying someone to kind of keep you in the dark so that the bonds don't fluctuate in value. Assuming that you have a well-diversified bond portfolio, there's no reason for a fixed annuity. Now, an immediate annuity is something completely different. An immediate annuity is you buying a pension that will pay out for a fixed period of time or until your dying day or your spouse's dying day. Same thing happens there. What's the insurance company do with that money? They take and they buy bonds. That's what they do. They buy bonds, and they will pay that out to you for the rest of your life. Buying an immediate annuity in this environment means you're locking in a low interest rate for the rest of your life. You probably have no need for either. I can't imagine why you would. And are you spending any of this money that's at Vanguard?
no.
Okay.
Then even more so now.
Yeah, you have no need for any of this. any of it.
And I think Jack Bogle's portfolio was very similar to this when he passed away.
So yeah,
50%.
You're fine. You're fine. I mean, you're absolutely fine. Yeah. How do they approach
Jack
you though?
Bogle,
When you say
the founder of Vanguard.
where do you hang out that the fixed annuity people get to approach you?
Golf club.
Got it. That's why I don't.
they're at
That's
the
why.
Gets out.
That's why I don't golf.
Because the annuity
Because
salespeople.
the annuity salespeople. No, you.
No, I appreciate your
have no
your
need for it.
advice and straightforward approach, and
Yeah.
I just
Yeah, I
need
wouldn't
a little
bother.
reassurance.
Yeah,
No,
I
no,
wouldn't.
no. I wouldn't.
And the annuity products are so missold, and there's so many garbage products out there that I think the world would be better off if they didn't exist. However, there are some circumstances when they could make some sense. Sometimes an immediate annuity for someone that really wants that guaranteed monthly income, and they're willing to give up control of their principal for that. And that's like buying a pension. There are times when that makes sense. There are times when some of the guarantees and some variable annuities years ago when they
made sense.
They were cheaper. The insurance companies didn't price them quite correctly. They made sense.
The problem with annuities overall is that they're very, very complicated products, and the average consumer cannot tell the difference between.
Nor
good,
can the average agent who sells them.
Can't tell the difference between good or bad. Right? Even us, when people bring in annuity products that they've purchased from someone else, we have to actually get a hold of the contracts themselves, and we pour over them to tell the clients what their options are. How do they get rid of them? It's not that simple. So,
Yeah, I wouldn't bother.
enjoy the golf, though.
I appreciate your advice. Thank you.
Well, unfortunately, that is all the time we've got this week. It's, as usual, been a pleasure being with you. Thank you for taking some time to be part of Allworth today. And we are broadcast the same week at this same time. We'll see you next week or now in the podcast. This has been Allworth Financial's Money Matters.
This program has been brought to you by Allworth Financial, a registered investment advisory firm. Any ideas presented during this program are not intended to provide specific financial advice. You should consult your own financial advisor, tax consultant, or estate planning attorney to conduct your own due diligence.